Well, thank you guys for being here with me and with the audience. This truly is a dream come true, and I've spent quite an amount of time with both of them, and everything Lisa said is true and more. So we'll get right into it. We're going to start the morning real hot. We go 100 miles an hour out of the gate here at ALEC. We're not going to slow step anything. So I did want to start with a softball question here. Obviously, with the economy being in question, the future being in question as to where it's going to go, the inflation, where it's at, what are your thoughts? We're going to start with Ms. Wood here, Cathie. A little bit of a softball open-ended question. What are you forecasting here in the near future with the economy?
So we are expecting a little bit more of a harder landing than I think a lot are. And we expect inflation and interest rates to come down. I think the reason the stock market is going up right now is that it is looking through these last few interest rate increases, and it is also looking into some deflationary forces, many of them associated with innovation, and I think feeling better about the longer term outlook.
Dr. Laffer?
First, I want to just say how wonderful it is with you, Danny, and you, Cathie. Cathie was the most amazing person as a student. She was an undergraduate, and she petitioned to get into my graduate class. She did. God knows my life has changed forever since then. Thank you, Cathie. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you,
it's just
Art.
great. I'm going to answer the question a little differently, if I can. And I'm going to answer it in Ray, Cathie. Cathie has invested in all of these, I mean, really earth-shaking innovation disruptors. One of the areas I think is going to play a huge role is in cryptocurrencies and what's going to happen. I know none of you remember, but prior to 1913, the monetary system of the United States was privately run. It was not a government. Now, the government defined what a dollar was, 1/20th of an ounce of gold and 1 ounce of silver. But then minting was done by the government as well as private mints. Currencies were all private bank script. I mean, all of that. I think that this allows us, Cathie, to come back to a new era. We're moving to a new era where private monies will start being very important. And I think that will be the end of the huge inflation era that occurred with government-run money. I mean, it's just incredible. I think prices since 1932 are up 2,300%. I mean, that's just incredible. I think we're coming into a new era that will be, because of a lot of your companies, Cathie, will be an era of stable prices and great prosperity.
If you want to hear more about this, Art and I and one of our partners did a podcast on this topic, and it was fabulous. And I will also say that I wouldn't be where I am without Art, not only because of what he taught me in economics, but also he introduced me to my first position in the industry. And I've been so grateful to him. I gave him 1% of my company when I started it.
I think I'm the largest outside owner other than Nico Securities, or who is it?
Yes.
I don't count them, but.
Well, Dr. Laffer, I mean, going to that, you obviously have had so many mentees. You have seen so much talent in this country. What set Cathie apart from everyone else?
Well, there have been a couple of others like Cathie. I don't know if any of you know the Sinkfields, or they were. I mean, if you look at Joel Citron, there have been a number of my students that have been very successful in spite of me, and it's wonderful. But Cathie has this drive. I know of no person who puts more effort, more energy, more work into discovering what companies do and how they do it. I think Cathie is the single best stock picker in Wall Street. I really do believe that.
That's good.
And have always.
And it is our research team. I mean,
yeah, but you make the research team.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you visited the office in the state of Florida, in St. Petersburg, Dr. Laffer. I know, are you still in Tennessee?
I've always Tennessee.
Right. So Dr. Laffer in the rich states, poor states, such a believer, such a guru behind that, climbing the ranks every single year, has not been convinced yet to move to Florida. Is a believer in Tennessee, as am I, we all are, but in Florida, we're very fortunate that we have Cathie Wood in St. Petersburg investing her life, her company into our own backyard. And so on behalf of Florida, we're forever thankful for that, Cathie. But I want to get into some questions here, because if not, we're just going to keep chatting. We're going to forget that everyone is in front of us. But with innovation and technology increasing at such a fast pace, what are some of the thoughts that you have on ARC's focus moving forward here over the next several years?
So on innovation specifically, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. We believe that during the next 5 to 10 years, 5 innovation platforms will be hitting prime time, all at the same time. And those are multi-omic sequencing in the life science space, robotics, energy storage, artificial intelligence, and blockchain technology. They're going to transform our lives. In 5 to 10 years, you can see from your children and grandchildren how quickly these technologies are evolving, and they are converging. We think in terms of the stock market, if you want to bottom line it, we think they're valued in the global public and private equity markets today at about $15 trillion, a little bit more than 10% of global GDP. And we think that 15 trillion is going to scale to 200 trillion plus during the next 5 to 10 years. Yes, that's a 40% compound annual rate, and it is because of the convergence of these technologies. They're explosive, each one alone, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about 3D printing in this context. We have here Hattie, the firm that is using robotics and 3D printing to make furniture. 30 minutes to make this now, going down to 10 minutes as robotics and artificial intelligence converge through this 3D printing technology. And the cello there, Alfred described to me, I don't know where it is now, but
it was here. I don't know where.
Art has his eye on it, I should say. The cello, usually it takes 5 months to make a wooden cello. That took 5 hours, and the sound, and it weighs 30% less, and the sound for students, I mean, and it costs $600 instead of $6,000. This is what's going to happen. This is a preview, and I know there Ultimate 3D Stores is here as well and is giving away a 3D printer out there. I think, is there a raffle or something?
I think so. I think so.
Yes. You'll get a good view of what this new world is going to be like.
It is super cool, and I mean, and when you're touching this, I would have never known it's coming from a 3D printing technology.
All recyclable. Children, students, they become passionate with this sort of technology, and we know that because through the Education Foundation, we did a 3D printing seminar, a drone seminar, and we give people, children, students, even, especially socioeconomic disadvantaged, a dream to pursue. So very exciting.
Dr. Laffer, I'm skeptical on asking you about innovation and technology, and I'm going to tell you why. I don't know if you guys know this, but Dr. Art Laffer is single-handedly keeping the flip phone industry alive. So it's very tough for me to be able to ask you about technology when, the flip phone era, Dr. Laffer, I love you, but I want to say I was probably in diapers when the flip phone came out. So, Dr. Laffer, going to what Cathie is talking about, 3D printing, the future, it's moving so quick, it really is. What are your thoughts on that as we kind of move forward?
I've been involved with Cathie for a long, long time. I mean, she went to whatchamacallit funds in LA.
Capital.
Yeah, capital funds there. Cathie, I've been following all the companies, and just for my modernness, I've been investing in all this stuff with Cathie all the way along, and I am just enthralled with productivity. Bluebird, Tesla, what was the first price that you got Tesla at?
Oh my goodness, on the split adjusted today's price, it would probably be $3.
$3 a share, can you imagine that? If you get NVIDIA, Illumina,
$3.
these are all a group of companies that Cathie over the years have done that I've been involved in. So just because I'm old, and just because I drool, and just because I forget things, and I have a flip phone, I don't have do email, and I don't own a computer, don't think I'm not as modern as you are, Danny.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
I will, and I'll wrestle you to the floor. I'm like Joe Biden.
No, you.
I'm 3 years older than Joe Biden, if you can believe that.
Wow. I know I can't believe that, but we're not going to get into that right now. But no, I can't believe that, Dr. Laffer. But it's great. I look up to Dr. Laffer so much. We had an event in Florida a couple years ago, and he was kind enough to come down and speak to the Republicans in the House. And I was trying to get a hold of him, but to get a hold of Dr. Laffer, you got to email a guy that then emails another guy that prints out a copy of the email, takes it to Dr. Laffer's house. He takes out a pen from the 1980s, and he checks off which one he's going to meet with and which one he's not. So, but Dr. Laffer, I do want to touch on something that you brought up earlier. And all joking aside, it's something that even, I'm a 36-year-old guy, to me is still super confusing. When you're talking about crypto and Bitcoin and what the future looks like for Bitcoin, I'm such an old school guy. You know, the Bitcoin world is something, I can't touch it. It's not concrete. I don't know truly what's regulating it or what's not regulating it. Is it in the world? Is it the state? Is it federal? I mean, I have so many questions. If you don't mind, maybe dumbing it down for me on where Bitcoin is today and where you see it going into the future.
Let me, if I can, and it's not dumbing it down because I have all the same questions you do.
Okay.
It's everyone I think we do. Cathie and I are going to do a podcast very soon on exactly these questions. You know, what is the formula? There's a guy who took a Japanese pseudonym and did the formula for Bitcoin, and it has the quantity there. You have the Bitcoin. How do you know there's anonymity? When I give you a $5 bill and you spend it, the guy whom receives the $5 bill from you has no idea that I once owned it. So we need to have anonymity to keep privacy in this world. How do all of those things get done? But the most important one for me that we're going to really focus on is how do you get to a price rule for a Bitcoin so that we can guarantee we have price stability for the time in the future. The whole key on gold that really made gold, the dollar was fixed to gold, and that's what gave the guarantee that price stability for centuries, literally centuries. Britain ran it. How do we get to the Bitcoin there? And Cathie and I are going to do a podcast on that, Cathie, I think pretty soon.
Yes, we are.
And it's the real issue, and it's a lot of technical stuff. And Danny, I know you probably weren't a math major.
I wasn't.
No, just joking.
That is true. You're not wrong, Dr. Laffer. It was political science and barely made it out.
If you can make a mock of my age, I can make my, you know, what can I tell you? But I think this is the area where we really have to look at carefully and see how it's done. And we're going to do that podcast and go through it.
Yeah, if I could just step back and big picture it first. Each one of the words I'm about to say about Bitcoin is important. It is the first global, digital, private, meaning no government oversight, rules-based monetary system in history. It's a very big idea, and Art is right, it is based on a quantity rule right now, so the price is highly volatile.
Yes.
And one of the things we're evolving is thinking around, okay, you have the quantity rule, how do we get to a price rule over time? And so we will delve deeply into it. But we're on record, ARC is on record, we have 3 full-time crypto analysts, and we're gonna get rid of that word crypto, digital asset analysts. So our forecast, Bitcoin's at roughly 30,000 right now. Our base forecast for 2030 is roughly 650,000. Our bull case is 1.5 million. It is the most important hedge right now, we believe, against inflation and deflation. So inflation is confiscation of wealth. Deflation, with deflation, 08, 09, counterparty risk. These are not problems when it comes to Bitcoin and blockchain technology.
And this is exactly how gold started, because gold is a quantity too. And it was a quantity rule until we started getting systems there that guaranteed the value of gold and stuff. It's the same evolution that you're seeing today in crypto that we saw with the development of money through commodities. I mean, if you know the German word Geld, if you know the word fee, which is the old Anglo-Saxon for cattle, the word salt was salary, you know, where the Romans would put it. All of that's how money evolved to being money. And crypto is a new evolution of a money that is not controlled by government and is anonymous.
You know, going to one of the principles of ALEC when we're talking about federalism and states' rights, being in the legislature in Florida, when this issue comes up, one of the more common states that I hear from is Wyoming. And how Wyoming, and I don't know if there's anyone here from Wyoming, but when we hear what state is doing it right, they always bring that state up. When we're talking about crypto and states' rights, what are some of the states that have maybe stuck out to you guys as doing things right or doing things wrong? And is there a reason why you believe that has moved the needle in either direction that some of the other states can learn from as they take some of the policies from here back home?
You want me to try?
Why don't you start?
Yeah, I'm working right now on Tennessee, by the way, just for the record.
gosh.
Florida's wonderful. I love Ron DeSantis. I think he's great, super. Danny, you're my hero there, all of that. Tennessee's better.
Why did I know
when
that
you
was
said
gonna
we have
happen?
the third best credit rating, we have the first best. When you say we have the biggest surplus, yes, but we have the biggest surplus relative to our economy. We are putting in a Prop 13 in California. Property taxes are the next big issue, and they are really a big, big issue. Right now, I've got some papers that I've written on property taxes. They're academic papers, but they really show the superpower and the need to control property taxes in a state. We are now, right now, halfway through a property tax initiative in Tennessee that will limit property taxes much the way Prop 13 did in California in 1978. I was very involved in that. It is the only reason California survives is because of Prop 13. Only reason. But, that's the issue, I think, where you look at it, look to the future of what you can do, not look to the past as to what you have done. You've got a beautiful challenge in front of you because you have a racehorse, but keep going.
That's a great point. And, property taxes here in Florida are always an issue, especially in Miami-Dade County.
That's right.
We have an elderly population down there, and most of them are on fixed income. So it's a tough issue outside of property insurance. But that's another topic for another day, Dr. Laffer. I don't know if we're going to have time for that one today. But Cathie, is there any state in particular that is standing out to you and kind of leading the charge in the crypto world?
In the crypto world, I think Florida has stood out. Governor DeSantis has said he will not allow a central bank digital currency here. He's much more focused on Bitcoin, and because talk about surveillance and invasion of privacy. I mean, that's what China is doing, right? And I know a few other states. I know Florida. I'm not as much into the states, but I agree with Art completely on the taxes. We moved ARK Invest from New York to Florida. Taxes, big part of the reason. Also, very progressive state, and welcomed us in, so much so that our foundation, the education foundation called IF, the Innovation Foundation, has evolved a program using ARK's research made age appropriate by educators, so that in 18 months, we've only been there 18 months, we are the 6th grade science curriculum in all of Pinellas County come this fall. And we think that will spread through the middle school. So we've been embraced not only for ARK, we're trying to change the Tampa Bay region into the new Bay Area, take that from San Francisco on the technology side. I know Hattie moved to St. Pete as well, the 3D printing firm. But we want to make a difference in terms of preparing students for the future. I can't believe, having come from the Northeast, how much arms opened, how much Florida felt that not only on the technology side, but education about technology and innovation generally, how important that is to the state.
And I did. Innovation Foundation is something that I wanted to talk about because we have it here in our own backyard in Florida, and I kind of wanted to ask you, what's the vision moving forward for the Innovation Foundation? A little bit of background on it, which you've given us, but also I wanted for everyone to hear some of the results that we're having with the usage of the foundation here in Florida and in Pinellas County. Because when Cathie and I sat down together in Tallahassee for the first time, and she starts to talk to me about the Innovation Foundation, I wanted to just take it and multiply it times 1,000 as quick as I could, because it's working in Pinellas County. If you don't mind giving the viewers, because that's what we got today. We got viewers, we're live TV here, the viewers a little bit of a background on what you're doing in Pinellas.
Sure, again, taking ARK's research on these 5 innovation platforms that are converging and making it age appropriate to inspire students. And we've started with 6th grade because that's where they asked us to. But the vision is toddler through high school, throughout Florida and the United States, public, private, charter, whatever. We think this is a very important initiative, and it has to do with the competitiveness of the United States. As I mentioned, these technologies are moving very rapidly, and they do inspire children. They inspire them at very important moments in their lives. 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, are they going to, basically hitch their wagon, so to speak, onto this new technology and become expert in it? Some of these are so new, they're not even being taught in school. So they can really develop, a sense of critical thinking, creativity, and innovation mindset, and really be ahead of the game and look forward to an exciting future, not only for their own families, but really, again, helping America pull way ahead competitively.
That's awesome. I just got an alert, Dr. Laffer, that ever since Cathie Wood gave the projections on Bitcoin, it just went up 5,000 bucks.
What? Everything she, on what?
Everything, Bitcoin, just the value of Bitcoin just went up 5,000 since she gave the projections. So, Dr. Laffer, I wanna pick your brain a little more. What is Dr. Laffer, when you get on your plane, private plane, big 747, Dr. Laffer, it's called Air Laffer.
It's called Southwest Airlines, by the way. It is private, you're right, and it's a big plane, but I share it with about 3 million other people, and I usually get a middle seat.
When Dr. Laffer, when he makes it back to Tennessee, you wake up in a couple of days, you pour your cup of coffee. What are you reading right now? What is your morning read when you start your day to kind of get a landscape on what that day looks like for you? What are you interested in right now?
I'm very grateful I woke up. I have a real problem with the drool on the pillow there, getting that. Every morning I wake up, I really don't watch the news. I go into my office and I start working on my papers. And about noon, I start catching up with what's happening in the world. And usually it's bad news, except for ARG. My stocks are just going straight south. I hate that. Now what I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning in Kentucky. Okay, I got a couple thousand acres up in Kentucky. I go up there every Thursday. I'm up there with my dogs. We have a herd of cattle. I have my geese, my chickens, all this stuff. I have to worry about serious things.
Why does Lisa Nelson say you're the second coming of Dr. Doolittle? Why does she say that?
Of Dr. who?
Dr. Doolittle.
I've got a lot of animals. I used to have, when I lived in California, I had one of the best private tree collections in the country. And I had animals. I had macaw aviaries. I had alligators. I had, all sorts of animals, rheas, emus, kinkajous, guatamondis.
With the talent of being able to talk to animals, Dr. Laffer, which is one I never expected, give me, where are you thinking? We're seeing in Florida approximately 1,200 to 1,300 people moving here a day. And I like to credit that to the legislature and the governor, but really we're the ones that make the laws along with the people that are moving here and the investment in our own state. But some of these other states, and we saw it with redistricting and who was losing or who should have lost some congressional seats or maybe a couple more than they did, but where are you seeing these more liberal states, economically speaking? What does the future look like for them? We talk about the pros in Florida and Tennessee and Utah and Kansas and all these states that are doing so well. What do you see for maybe some of those that are towards the bottom of your rich states, poor states rankings?
Let me, if I can, you should infer the future from the past. Now, George Romney, governor of Michigan, just for one example, I think it was 1967, put in the income tax. They had a corporate tax in Detroit. In 1950, Detroit's population was 1.85 million. Today it's 600 million. 1.85 million, now it's 600,000. There's been a collapse there. It's been going down ever since when I was a kid. My mom and dad from Cleveland used to take me by train on a vacation to Detroit, which was the Paris of North America, if you can imagine that. There's this death spiral going on in a lot of these states, and all the states there. You can list them there. I did this paper, The 7 Deadly Tax the Rich States, which if anyone you'd like, just email me, or email me the person who's going to email me.
Exactly, I was going to say, email the guy to the guy to the guy.
Yeah, that's right.
And
but you know how to do that, guys.
Dr. Laffer, I remember from a conversation, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember when we were in Miami, what is it, 2 years ago, or maybe last year, I don't remember, but you had spoken to me about New Jersey, and you had said at one point in time, New Jersey was the perfect example of how to run a state. And if we're looking today, it's probably on the opposite side of the spectrum.
I mean, in New Jersey in 1965 had neither an income tax nor a sales tax. It was one of the fastest growing states in the nation. People from everywhere were migrating into New Jersey. It was incredible. It had a balanced budget with all that. Look at it now. I mean, after before Chris Christie took over, and Chris did a good job of vetoing a lot of tax increases, but John Corzine was the governor of New Jersey, if you remember. He was one of my students at the University of Chicago. Just for the record, a C student. and in all honesty, Danny, just to be transparent, after seeing his performance at MF Global, I'm not even sure he earned the C, if you know what I mean.
I'm with you.
They had the highest property taxes, highest income taxes, highest sales taxes, the slowest growing state. People were leaving it like rats out of a sinking ship, and they had a big budget deficit. Taxes have consequences. And whatever we want to talk about, if you have two locations, A and B, if you raise taxes in B and you lower them in A, producers and manufacturers and people are going to move from B to A. It ain't rocket surgery, people. It's simple. Steve Moore and I and Jonathan Williams have been doing this ranking of the states for years, and you can see how it is, and it's working out perfectly. You guys are doing a great job, don't get me wrong, but there is one state in the nation that attracts net adjusted gross income
Let me
from
guess.
Florida.
Tennessee?
Oh, what you got it.
But how does that work? And I want to know how much Stuart Adams is paying you under the table for Utah to keep that #1 spot for so damn long.
You didn't know that Steve Moore is a Mormon, did you?
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm sure we have a lot of people from Utah here. But Utah, they do so. Where are they? They do. And I tell you, if I ever leave Florida, I love Tennessee, but if I ever leave Florida, I'm moving to Utah.
Can I tell one cute story? Ezra Taft Benson was a very close friend of the family's. My mom was a delegate for Bob Taft, in 1952. And Ezra Taft Benson, as you may know, was Eisenhower's Secretary of Agriculture. And so I went to see him when I was running for the Senate, and he's a great friend of the family and all that. And he then was the prophet. And we were sitting there talking, and he said, "Laffer, stop right there. If you'll convert today, the church will endorse you." And I said, "Sir, if it were a closer race, I'd really consider it." What a wonderful man. What a great
that would have been a great decision. Well, as we get here towards an end, Cathie, I would love for you to leave us with, what could ALEC be focusing on over the next 50 years? This is our 50th year. This is our annual conference for the 50th year. We have a gala in DC towards the end of the year to celebrate our 50th anniversary. Our principles have been consistent. Limited government, free markets, federalism, and we're going to stand on those principles moving forward. But the next 50 years, I think, are going to have a more significant change than the previous 50. And we don't want to focus on the prior 50. You want to look forward, as Dr. Laffer said. What are some of the things, economically speaking, however it is that you have in your mind, that ALEC should focus on over the next 50?
Well, I do believe, again, starting with education, we need to get on the right side of change and encourage this change, right? It's so interesting to watch what's going on with the digital asset world, crypto, and to see that innovation leaving our shores. It is going away because of the SEC, Chairman Gensler, and thank God we have a government of checks and balances, and that the judicial branch of the government and the legislative branch are now challenging that executive branch, because I'm seeing a lot of young people they would never have left the United States. They wouldn't. But the US is not allowing this innovation to occur. The regulations, we have so many regulators, first of all, and they're fighting with each other for power, whether it's the SEC and the CFTC. So I'd follow the Laffer plan: lower taxes, lower government spending, lower regulations, encouraging trade, and staying on the right side of change when it comes to innovation. I think this is critically important now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Dr. Laffer, here as we close up, I'm going to consider you one of our founding fathers of ALEC. I think you're such a smart man, and we really appreciate everything that you're doing for us. The next 50 years, Dr. Laffer's projection of the next 50 years for ALEC, hit me.
Well, I don't know about for ALEC, but what I would hope you would do is balance up, not down. This is the whole thing. The problem in this world is not rich people. The problem in this world is poor people. And the dream in America, the dream for ALEC should be making the poor rich, not making the rich poor. Balance up, not down. The problem in America is not that some people have privilege. The problem in America is that some people don't have privilege. And you need to make sure we always balance up. And when I look at the other side of the ledger, I look at the anti-ALECs in this world, and there are a lot of them out there.
Sure are.
I look at them as always trying to balance down. They're always trying to get even. They're always trying to stop bullying. And all of that's, stopping bullying is right. But make sure you don't forget that your job is really to make sure that people have the opportunity. There are a group of people in our society who have not shared in the prosperity that we have all so blessedly been given. It is our job to create the prosperity. Enterprise zones. Don't make it welfare where you have a welfare trap and you have a ceiling. You have a poverty trap. What you want to do is have enterprise zones in the inner cities to allow people to go up, not with tracked welfare. Make sure you're always making it better for the poor, the minorities, the disenfranchised, not making it worse for those who are successful. Our dream, please, and please stay ALEC, balancing up, not down.
What a great way to end the panel. I want to, on behalf of ALEC and Lisa Nelson, I wanted to say thank you guys for being here. How this came together, I don't know, but it was meant to be. And having you guys has been a true honor.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Danny.
Thank you.